system, and which maybe they have not yet realized that. Now they are talking about vocational training, which is very good. We realize that the vocational training, as you mentioned, sometimes it's very difficult to even get admission into that. I'm very happy that he has really elaborated and brought down the fees, 90% cut down of that fees.
I mean, from 500,000 to 50,000.
Yes, which will encourage many Cameroonians. But the question is the corruption that is within that. Would they allow them to go? And how many schools are even there? Look at
we have that in almost all the regions, in several regions.
There is not enough, madam. How many youths are there outside there waiting? How many of them? I have a problem with sometimes this French system of governance. You know, something like maybe ENAM, like these professional trainings, like ENS and so on. Why do they exist? In the University of Buea, for example, we have Faculty of Education that they can train teachers there. When you want to recruit teachers, you launch and they apply. We have public administration that can take care of the DOs and so on. You know, when this thing of Concours always come in, corruption always set in. So there's a problem with that. No matter how he reduced the fees of that vocational training, it's always difficult for it to take care of the problem.
Free and fair entrance.
Yes, and secondly, madam, when you look at the unemployment rate in Cameroon, is very high. You mentioned about some basic thing, what Prof said there. You know, when you touch the transportation system, automatically every other thing will be affected. Do you know that in Equatorial Guinea, they said that gas 5,000 francs. Their petrol fuel is 4,47 francs. 450. Something like that. And look at a country like Cameroon where we are. And there are a lot of difficulties. Today, to have a job in Cameroon is very difficult. I want to equally hail the president. You know what he mentioned is that you should not travel out of the country at all costs.
At all costs.
Now, but he has not discouraged that people will not travel. He said at all costs. You see people dying at Mediterranean Sea and so on. That is what he discouraged. For sure.
And he used a statement, you can still make it here.
Of course, we have seen people who have made it here. For sure, you can still make it here.
And other foreigners are coming here and Cameroon is their safe haven.
Well, that is what he said, but for me, I don't know about that one. And I don't want to comment on something that I don't know. But for sure, we have our own diversity. And a country like Cameroon, you know, before the Anglophone crisis, many people love Cameroon because of the peace that we have. Today, even to invest in Cameroon is a problem. Imagine he is crying that we are having problem with employment and the government cannot absorb all the youth, which I agree with him. But now what mechanism have you put for the private sector to operate so that they will absorb these youth that are sitting outside? Today when you see people graduating in UB, sometimes people are just forced to continue their education because they don't have any option. Today if you go, you are doing a job, he mentioned about the minimum wage, which is 43,000, which is not bad if they can maintain that. But believe me, there are some people receiving 15,000 francs. And if they say something, they will sack them and bring someone who will not say anything. So this is a situation which is very complicated. And us youth were just seated. I want to give you an example. In 2011, he launched Operation 25,000 Youth that he wants to put in the job market.
And which
we felt the impact in all the sectors.
Of course.
But last year, you hear ministers come out and say, this year we have recruited 400,000 youth, 500,000 youth. Where? In which ministry? Where is the impact? We don't see the impact. So there is a lot of problems.
So are you saying that there is no veracity in those statements when ministers say they have recruited these scores of youth?
Well, the question is, they should prove to us which ministry, which sector absorbed those youth. We'll be very happy to listen to them because I, for one, I don't see those sectors that have absorbed up to 500,000 youth and we don't see the impact in any way.
Right.
So there's a problem, I think, first of all, if they want to solve the problem of this country, to me, I might not feel that is a leadership problem. It might be, it might not be. But my problem is the education system.
Okay, so to you, it's not necessarily a leadership problem. Mr. Sama, do you agree, do you tally with the fact? I mean, I think as opposed to what Mr. Cyril is saying, Mr. Cyril thinks everything stems from bad governance, bad leadership. But Mr. Musa overtly is saying he thinks, everything has got to do with the educational system. We are going to be rounding up with the first topic of the day before delving into the second. What do you have to say as far as
I'm sure it is not from me that the saying came from, that when a fish is to get rotten, it starts from the head. And so that head figuratively means leadership. And once you can correct the leadership menace that we have, then you have corrected everything. Because it is all about leadership, because the leader sets the pace, the leader sets the standards, the leader is the model, the leader is the mentor, the leader is the guide, the leader is, that is, you set the standards because you have the mandate. And so once the leadership is bad, every other thing is bad. And I think that without being too much of a Sirinjomo ally, but what I think is that we have a serious leadership problem in Cameroon. And once we can tackle that one, when I talk of leadership, it is, I am not personifying it like Biya must go. No. But the system of leadership that he has put in place is what is responsible for our perennial failure. Which means that if the leadership model can be rephrased, if the leadership model can be redefined, at times even with the same persons, but you change the philosophy of leadership, so many other things will change. So to me, no, I think my brother Musa there is out of tangent here. It is our major problem is the leadership crisis that we have. And whether we are changing the philosophy of leadership or we are changing the persons who incarnate it, but if we can have that one solved, then so many other things that we have going wrong in the country, from education to economic planning to mindset and mentality of the citizens, everything will change.
Okay, envisage a situation just like what Mr. Sama is saying, Mr. Musa is saying, where the education, structure is well in place and well aligned. Do you think the leadership flaws or lapses are going to be picked or easily, visible?
A bad leadership will not institute a good educational system. That's impossible, because either out of bad faith they do not want to put in place that which is right, which will work against them, or they do not even have what it takes to put in place. There is a balance in law. They say you cannot give what you don't have. And if they do not have that vision of that model, they cannot offer it. Or the fear of being a victim of a good system. Do you think that there is so much corruption in the land because people do not know the anti-corruption antidotes? No, they have. But once they know that it is going to remove food from their mouth, they will not put it. Let me tell you what happened. I have a friend who works in the Ministry of Finance in one of the establishments there. There was a seminar to train personnel of that ministry on how to block loopholes of corruption and graft in the ministry, where software where people could easily manipulate figures. And his boss, his own immediate boss in his own directorate, sent him to represent him. He went there and learned the skills. The expatriates who came showed them that, okay, with this software, you can block from here. They will not, your subordinates will not be able to embezzle from here. So they taught them all the skills. When he came now, and it took time and taught his boss in the privacy of their office, And the boss asked him, if we block here, how do we open here? Just you and me. Which means that it is not a matter of the good not existing, but we do not want to implement the good that will work against us. Do you think that all this cry about the reformulation of the electoral code is that they do not know? No, they know, but why they will not institute a level playing field electoral code is because it will work against them. Maybe let me tell you what I proposed at some seminar. If there is an election in this country, an election is a national affair which touches on the life and the stability of the nation that all of us belong to. This issue of asking political parties to send party representatives and sponsor them doesn't play to everybody's advantage. It is a national affair. Simply tell every political party, give us the name of your party's representative at the polling station, and from the state budget we pay everybody the same amount. Why do you think that some political parties cannot provide representatives at some polling stations? Because they don't have the means to pay for their transportation and their feeding. But if everything is taken over by the state, that even though you are representing SDF, CRM, UNDP, but you are working for the state because the welfare of this election has to do with the stakes of the state. And we pay everybody, whether you are representing an opposition party or the ruling party, you are paid them by the state treasury. Do you think that there will be as much fraud as we have in these police stations? No, because everybody is. But a hungry party representative who goes and the party cannot sponsor him even transport or even feeding allowance will be forced to eat food, poisoned food by his opponent. And when he eats, your hands are tied, as they say. The mouth that has food in it cannot talk, and you cannot bite the finger that feeds you. So you find that it is a system that could be put in place, but because we do not want to, permit me end here. It is still to be proven whether this country can accept that we cut down the fees of vocational schools to 50,000, because they have not explained to us why.
So are you saying it's not going to be actualized?
No. Because they have never taken time to explain to us why.
Why what?
Students of the same country, children of the same country, attending public schools, which is a public good for everybody, some pay higher than others. That it is now that they think that they want to like reformulate it at a time when the state is in financial crisis, at a time when the state is taxing influencers. I heard him talk about influencers. Who is an influencer? Some, permit me use the word without being insulting, some rascal who just has time on the internet and you shout and you make noise, you are promoting one politician or one superstar, and the state wants to start. Very soon this state will start taxing scammers, because when you go to the level of you want to impose a tax on influencers, I do not even know in what curriculum that term influencers exists. Who do they influence? And how do they make their money? For the state to even have the guts to say we want to start taxing them, for them to pay, we will start taxing prostitutes along the street very soon.
No, but
and that shows
that
us
kind
that
of comparison does not match.
No, it does.
That kind of comparison does not match.
It does, maybe, because no. Excuse me. That's why I'm saying that.
Are influencers illegal, Mr. Sama?
No, we would. It is because we have chosen to incorporate them, because it is the mode now to now give them a relevance that doesn't exist. Maybe it will shock you. I saw on social media, it is not scam, it is not fake. A group of youths who took part in 11th of February march past somewhere, and they put it there, Les Jeunes Parieurs. Les Jeunes Parieurs. What Cyril was saying, that is young stakers, young jumbo players, and they were carrying one XBet on their t-shirts, and they had their placards. And I ask myself, even though I don't
How
know,
illegal is betting?
No,
How illegal is
no,
betting? I mean, you
no.
cannot induce your morality.
No,
Mr. Sama.
No. Maybe there's a difference between legality and morality. And a state doesn't only survive on legality; it survives on morality. Where illegality abounds without morality, that state crumbles. It is like you are training intellectual giants but moral dwarfs who have no sense of morality. That's what I'm saying, that if you can allow, and it was written, les jeunes parieurs, that's young stakers, young jambo players,
and they are not friends with Mr. Cyril.
And they had their placard. My worry is I have not yet been able to locate that municipality where that took place and to actually find out whether they were allowed to march with that placard. And look at the faces of the children, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, and they form an association, possibly legalized.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that's a food for thought. To round up this particular first segment of the program, Mr. Cyril, I'm going to leave the mic with you in just 2 minutes while we get on a jingle break to reintroduce the second topic, which is, the heartbeat and the pinnacle of today's interest. He mentioned migration and talked about morality, something that I think that it is, should I say, the due diligence of every head of state to actually induce morality or to actually capture in their State of the Nation address. We know that youth are facing moral bankruptcy. I've been in a social media platform and even severally on my platform where you reiterate and expound on the fact that anybody who plays Pari food is not your friend. That is because you know that Pari food is a springboard for for some moral bankruptcy and moral decadence. So the head of state pointed out and enumerated all of this. Do you think that it is something that we need to really give it so much weight and other voices to?
Yes, I think the head of state, first of all, Mr. Bia, is not genuine. He's a politician. I know what I'm saying can go against me because I'm also a politician. He only bets where he has gains. Meaning, to understand what he's saying, take but the opposite of what you hear. Don't mind all that thing he called le continent. We have this good intention for you. We have created this. No.
But how does that answer the question?
That company, Samuel Eto'o was frustrated in the network because they want a kind of money that you don't question. So it takes Mr. Bia to his policy to first of all dissolve all those betting companies in the country.
And you think that youth are going to be morally?
We are far from that. I just want to tell you how far we are from to get Mr. Bia dissolve all these betting companies. We cannot do that. In our home, there is a huge scam taking place in every Cameroonian home. Church, religion, whatever tendency you want to give to it, and drinking sports. If Mr. Bia wants young Cameroonian to regain back their consciousness, he should attempt to regularize, because I cannot say he should dissolve. They cannot dissolve church. They cannot dissolve completely relaxation point. But he should streamline and give a direction.
Is that what comes to is
every nation?
Voted?
No, there will be discipline, madam. I cannot sit here and even my own personal life is discipline. You cannot be telling people that we need to. It's been long, 40 years that we derail, and we have been shooting straight to the gutter.
So how does drinking sports,
start with religion? Influence? Start with religion. When people are taught of an effortless life, that only sitting praying will have things up for you, man, where have you seen that happen on earth? Where? And we have gotten to a point where, just like education, my brother said it here, when people go and graduate and discover that there's nothing ahead, they continue. That's the same thing. When people have prayed for long and discover that there's no way out, they become pastor and join another crowd. It's been multiplying, and now some ways to do. Who understand it? Don't forget that the law instituting church in Cameroon is the 1990 law on liberty. Don't forget that. So the government also regulates it. It's an elder in church who is talking to you, I only resigned from this stuff because I understood during the 2018 election when the sermon was taking place. I discovered more and more that the sermon was helping Mr. Biya to have another mandate, and I told myself, no, with the political education I have, I cannot sit here and get my brain eroded. That's how I quit, and I have no regret 7 years after. What am I trying to tell you? If young people are not taught to believe in themselves, that's what Ganu did. If we want to single out just the case on Ganu tonight, I want to tell you, there's no God who gave Ganu the title and the reputation he has around the world today. Neither will you tell me, Mohammed, any other great leader around the world. It starts by believing in you, putting the necessary effort, and you will see God's face. God's face shows. God's face shows to anybody who put the necessary effort. But now, young people nowadays are so lazy, Mabel. Young people, the least chance they have, they think that by praying they are going to have it all. And they spend the precious time of the day, late at night when they get off from bed, instead of working on their project, they are singing one melody to the other, and in the morning they are tired to go to work. My God in heaven, where do we obtain this? I'm telling you that if we don't go back to the drawing board and help young people to map out the real plan of focus, we are driving straight, and it's helping Mr. Biya, because the more people are distancing themselves from the real political issues,
thank you so much,
the
Mr.
more
Cyril.
he's creating strategies to stay in power.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 11th of February in Nkambe, it was, a gory incident there where students in their numbers were injured after an improvised explosive device was planted during a march pass. Of course, this left one person, Cherish Lim Nui, dead, and today she was laid in state and buried, and others are still in medical facilities beckoning and hoping that they are going to gain their lives and trying to see how recuperation goes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the second talking point as we are going to be diving into the heinous and the atrocious act that was committed by identified gunmen. Eyewitness account says a young guy had a black bag and went towards a little boy whose mother was roasting plantains or so, a normal roadside vendor, just beside the stadium. So the young man called the little boy and gave him the bag and asked him to put beside his mother. The guy, the little boy whose age could be arguably 15-year-old, took the bag and placed beside his mother. The curious mother actually held the bag and felt something vibrating, and in just about 4 minutes there was an explosion which left one dead and several others, dozens of others injured. Mr. Sama, Musa, this is a point where I think I get to talk with you a little. When you got wind of that, how did you feel?
Well, when a life is lost, one cannot feel happy. So it was a sad news in Nkambe. Particularly Nkambe was one of the peaceful towns that we have in the northwest and southwest region amidst of this Anglophone crisis. Now, Mabel, when there are problems, Nkambe happens to be my place of origin, and Nkambe, since 2017, Nkambe was very peaceful. They don't even know ghost town, and schools are going on normally. But there are some recent happenings that were supposed to click into their mind that they need to prepare for that. The SDO was installed on Wednesday, and along the way, when the GO of Bamindatu was going, he was kidnapped along the way, and that was a message that they were supposed to react to that as early as possible. And secondly, when you have an activity like the Youth Day, knowing that Nkambe has a military barracks there, and knowing that Nkambe is peaceful and it's always people, the armed men always target that kind of activity to cause terror into the mind of people. So those are the things that they were supposed to vigilant. They were supposed to be vigilant. Fortunately or unfortunately, I think it happens.
Talking about vigilance, how vigilant can you be in the face of a guerrilla warfare like this? Buea, which is surrounded by so many barracks, sometimes you hear, explosions even in taxis and many deaths recorded. Do you think there can be ample and acute vigilance in the face of this kind of war?
See, Mabel, there is always something that always happens. Imagine, let me take a case of American president visiting maybe a town or a country.